If you ask any devil dog, leatherneck, or jarhead about Tun Tavern, they'll be very quick to point out to you that it's considered the birthplace of the Marine Corps. While that is very true, and as if that were not enough, Tun Tavern actually has a much richer history than just being the birthplace of the Marine Corps. Built in 1686 by Quaker and new settler Joshua Carpenter, Tun Tavern sat next to Carpenter's Wharf along the Delaware River in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Named after the Old English word tun, meaning a keg or barrel of beer, Tun Tavern quickly gained a reputation for serving fine beer. A number of years later, in the 1740s, new proprietors Thomas and Peggy Milan started a restaurant and added it to the tavern, and it was called Peggy Milan's Red Hot Beef Steak Club at Tun Tavern. Located so close to the wharf, the Tun Tavern was a popular favorite for all the seafarers that came through Philadelphia, but it was also very popular with many groups that started and formed there. With the large influx of settlers that were coming into the Pennsylvania area, many poor and destitute, two very notable charitable organizations had their very beginnings right at Tun Tavern. In 1720, the St. George Society held its very first meeting there. It was an organization designed to help the poor Englishmen that were just arriving in the area, and it's the predecessor to today's the Sons of the Society of St. George that is still active today. In 1747, the St. Andrew's Society also founded at Tun Tavern. Much like the St. George's Society, St. Andrew's was founded, but to help the Scottish that were coming to settle in the area. 1732 found Tun Tavern hosting the very first meetings of the St. John's Lodge No. 1 of the Grand Lodge of the Masonic Temple. The Masonic Temple of Philadelphia still recognizes Tun Tavern today as the birthplace of Masonic teachings in America. The very first president of the St. John's Lodge No. 1 was none other than Benjamin Franklin. It may have been Franklin's connection to the Tun Tavern through the Masons that led him to use the Tun Tavern for other purposes. When the Pennsylvania colonists started having ever-increasing conflicts with the Native Americans of the area, Franklin used the Tun Tavern as a recruiting station for the Pennsylvania militia to help deal with the Native American conflicts. As the Continental Congress began meeting to work on the ever-growing tense relationship between the American colonies and Britain, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and the rest of the Continental Congress met at Tun Tavern at least on one occasion, and possibly more. But with the birthday of the United States Marines coming up, it would be improper to not note the reason why the Tun Tavern is so well remembered today. On November 10, 1775, the Continental Congress authorized the first forming and recruitment for the Continental Marines. Congress appointed Samuel Nicholas as the first captain of the newly formed group, and he in turn called upon his good friend Robert Mullen, son of Thomas and Peggy Mullen and co-owner of the Tun Tavern, to help him recruit men to serve in the Continental Marines. Commissioned as a second lieutenant, Robert Mullen chose his own place of business as the first Marines recruiting station. It continued to recruit for the Marines all the way through the American Revolutionary War. Still honored to this day as the birthplace of the Marine Corps, you would be hard-pressed to find more than a commemorative plaque near the site of the original building. The Tun Tavern sadly burned down in 1781 after nearly 100 years of proudly serving the city of brotherly love. Now, Interstate 95 runs across the original site of the tavern, and plans to build a replica of the building have fallen short of fruition. If you want to experience the Tun Tavern, you can visit the U.S. Marine Corps National Museum near Quantico, Virginia, and visit the Tun Tavern-themed restaurant that still serves beer and staples of the original menu like peanut soup and bread pudding.